That night, my grandparents passed away, and I mistakenly believed that grief would be the most difficult challenge. I was wrong. During the reading of the will, the lawyer's voice resonated like a gunshot. To my grandchild, I leave the entirety of my estate, valued at $26 million. Silence, then pandemonium. My father slammed his hand on the table. My mother demanded an explanation. My siblings stared at me as if I had stolen something sacred. As for me, I remained still, knowing the storm was imminent. My grandparents were the only ones who had ever truly seen me, while the rest of my family dismissed me as the quiet one, the failure. My grandparents whispered a different story. Patience is power. You'll see, they've taught me loyalty and restraint. Most importantly, they taught me that love is not defined by blood, but by actions. That is why their estate was passed to me. Not because I requested it or demanded it, but because I had earned it. My family, however, could not see it that way. To them, it was theft. To them, I was an obstacle. It didn't take long. That same night, after the lawyer departed, their masks came off. My brother sneered. "Hand it over. It belongs to all of us," my mother hissed. "Your grandparents weren't thinking straight." And my father delivered the final verdict. "If you don't give it up, you're no longer welcome in this house." I refused. Minutes later, my bags were on the porch and the door slammed shut behind me. My family, my blood chose greed over me. I didn't cry or beg. I drove straight to my grandparents' house, the one place that was now mine. As I walked through the empty halls that night, I made a decision. I would not run or hide. I would make them regret underestimating me. I knew my family well. They wouldn't stop. They would come for the estate, the house, and everything else. But they didn't understand that I was not alone. My grandparents had prepared me for this moment long before their deaths. Step 1. Secure the estate. I contacted the lawyer and activated clauses in the will that transferred all assets, liquid accounts, investments, and property deeds into my sole possession. Step 2. Establish security. My grandparents had a network of old connections and friends who owed them favors. One was a retired federal judge, another a former police captain, and then there was Daniel, my grandfather's closest confidant, a man who had spent 30 years in intelligence before his quiet retirement. These were not just names. They were shields, allies, people my family couldn't bully or bribe. Step 3. Wait. I would let my family come to me, let them believe I was vulnerable, and then show them exactly how wrong they were. The next morning I heard the crunch of tires on gravel. My family arrived in full force. Parents, siblings, even cousins I hadn't spoken to in years. United not by love, but by greed. They marched up the steps as if they already owned the place. My father pounded on the door. "Open up, this house isn't yours. Get out before we drag you out." I opened the door, calm and silent, and stepped aside. Behind me stood Daniel, broad-shouldered with cold eyes, a man who didn't need to raise his voice to command respect. Beside him were the judge and the police captain, 3 silent witnesses, 3 immovable forces. The air shifted. My family's faces froze, their bravado draining away. My brother stuttered. Who are they?" I smiled. "Friends of the family. The real family." The judge spoke first, his voice sharp as steel. "This property is legally owned by your sibling. Any attempt to interfere will be considered trespassing." The police captain stepped forward. "And I'll make sure every single one of you faces charges if you try." Daniel said nothing. His stare alone was enough. For the first time in my life, I watched my parents stumble backward, fear replacing their arrogance. They left that day humiliated. But their defeat wasn't just legal, it was psychological. Because what they saw wasn't just me standing in that doorway. It was every decision they had made, every dismissal, every betrayal, staring back at them in judgment. I didn't need to raise my voice or seek revenge through violence or chaos. All I needed was the truth. They were powerless, out of control, and they would never control me again. That night, I sat by the fireplace in my grandparents' house. My future and that of my children would be spent here, surrounded by love, not poisoned by favoritism or greed. I thought of my grandparents and how they always told me that patience was power. They were right. My family tried to kick me out, strip me of my dignity, and force me to surrender. Instead, they lost everything. I didn't just inherit money. I inherited wisdom, strategy, and strength. And as I watched the flames crackle, one truth burned brighter than all the rest. Revenge doesn't always require blood. Sometimes, it only requires standing tall when your enemies expect you to crawl. 2 years later, I learned through mutual acquaintances that my family had completely fractured. The siblings blamed each other for losing the inheritance. My parents, once proud and commanding, had aged rapidly under financial strain. The house they had thrown me out of went into foreclosure within 18 months. They never contacted me directly, but I heard they had hired lawyers to contest the will. Each attempt failed. My grandparents had been thorough. Every clause ironclad, every provision legally bulletproof. They had known this day would come and had protected me from beyond the grave. I have since renovated the estate, transforming it into a place that honors their memory while making it truly mine. The walls hold new photos, friends who chose to be family, mentors who saw my worth, and the children I hope to have who will grow up knowing that love is unconditional and respect is non-negotiable. Sometimes I walk the same halls where my grandparents once told me stories, where they whispered that patience was power. Their voices echo in every room, reminding me that the greatest inheritance they left wasn't money. It was the knowledge that I was worthy of protection, worthy of love, and worthy of a legacy. My biological family taught me what abandonment felt like. My grandparents taught me what belonging meant. And in that silence, when their faces froze in shock and they realized I wasn't the powerless child they had discarded, I knew I had already won the only victory that mattered: the freedom to choose my own family, build my own legacy, and live without apology for refusing to settle for less than I deserved. The estate is quiet now, but it's the good kind of quiet, the kind that comes from peace, not emptiness. And every night when I lock the doors my grandparents left me, I sleep knowing I am exactly where I belong.